US President Barack Obama has arrived at the Union Buildings in Pretoria. Obama, with his family, touched down at the Waterkloof Air Force Base last night. Let's take you live now across to those Union Buildings. I'm joined by my colleague, senior political reporter Harja Omarjee. And Harja, give us a sense of what it was like when the US President arrived at the Union Buildings.
Good morning, Gareth. I can tell you that it's a visit to Africa that has reportedly cost the US about R1 billion. Barack Obama arrived here with about 6 military helicopters a few minutes ago. The area around the Union Buildings is on lockdown. Right now, he's met President Jacob Zuma. The two are expected to go in for a short tete-a-tete in a few minutes' time before those serious bilateral discussions get underway. To discuss what is expected out of those discussions is eNCA's Group News Editor, Ben Said. Thank you for joining us. How important is this visit for Barack Obama and, more importantly, for South Africa?
I think very important, Harja. Good morning. I mean, South Africa is a democracy in Africa and should be a very, very natural US ally in the region. And I think we have not necessarily seen that so much on a political level, where there's been disputes at the United Nations over various issues like Iran and, of course, Libya. But I think on an economic level, the countries are as close as they've ever been, really. We've got the African Growth and Opportunity Act, which was signed in 2000 under President Bill Clinton. It gives tariff-free exports from Africa to the US with reduced tariffs and often tariff-free, and it's been a great boon, I think, for African business and particularly for South African business. I think that the South African government is going to lobby very strongly that President Barack Obama will go back to the US and push for the AGOA to be re-signed by Congress in 2015. He doesn't get to make the decision, Congress gets to make the decision, but of course what the President wants does count.
Obama's visit comes shortly after the Chinese leader Xi Jinping's visit, and he's visiting the similar countries, Tanzania and South Africa amongst them. What's the difference between, in your opinion, China's relationship with Africa as well and the US's?
I think there is a difference. I think the Chinese are very much interested in ensuring that they have good relations with African governments and with countries like South Africa in order to ensure that there's a steady stream of raw materials into China, which China desperately needs to keep its fast-growing economy going. I think with the Americans, though, it's slightly different. I think that for the Americans, their agenda is more the spread of democracy. It's more about creating opportunities for American business in the continent. And I think at the same time they would like to see African economies grow, and things like AGOA are supposed to lead to that.
Now, US business has said that corruption is an impediment to investment in Africa. Do you think Obama's going to have the guts to have that discussion with President Zuma?
I'm not sure that he will. I think that this will be a very friendly discussion about trade and things like that. I think they'll talk about the likes of the health of former President Nelson Mandela. I'm not sure that corruption will be raised as an issue directly between the two, but certainly in all the other bilateral discussions that very, very senior officials from both governments will be having behind the scenes, I think that issue will be raised.
Obama's been criticized for not taking diplomacy seriously and not taking Africa seriously during his first term. Do you think there's an attempt to revive that relationship where China perhaps has taken advantage?
Yes, I think there is an attempt by President Barack Obama. An American president's first term is all about really getting re-elected, and in his second term he can pursue the sort of agenda that he's wanted to do all along. I don't think that with the financial crisis in the US that Africa has been very high on Barack Obama's agenda, but I do think that he would like to make a meaningful difference in terms of the United States' relationship with Africa. And I think, yes, I think the United States has realized that it is losing the diplomatic game and even to a certain extent the economic gain in Africa to China.
We've spoken about diplomacy as well as economics. Let's talk about what South Africa wants at the United Nations. It wants a seat on the UN Security Council. Do you think it's going to use today to try to lobby for that?
I'm sure that it will. I think that issue may well be raised between the two presidents. But South Africa's also got to work on getting that agreement within the African Union as to who should have that seat at the United Nations. So the lobbying needs to take place in Addis Ababa, the seat of the AU, as well as here.
Thank you. very much for your time. Now, there will be a discussion with African Union Chairperson Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma and Barack Obama just a little bit later today. That is expected to be on the agenda in that discussion. For the moment, President Jacob Zuma and Barack Obama are meeting right here at the Union Buildings. We expect a press conference in about an hour's time. Thereafter, we'll know for sure if Barack Obama is going to visit former President Nelson Mandela, who's in a Pretoria hospital just a couple of kilometers away. What we know is that he said he's not looking for a photo opportunity. He doesn't want to be obstructive, and he's waiting for guidance from President Zuma as well as the Mandela family on whether or not he should. We'll bring you all those details as it happens. Back to you, Gareth.
Harja, for the moment, thank you very much to you and also to Ben Said, keeping us in the loop as far as what is happening at the Union Buildings.
News that moves. eNCA.com.